Hi, I'm Keisha and welcome back. I'm the kind of person who, when I go out to eat and I enjoy something, I say, this is really good. Can I recreate this at home? And 8 times out of 10, I can. So my husband and I were out in the city and wanted to stop and get some Jamaican patties from a local West Indian restaurant. They were completely out. We ended up doing whatever we need to do that day, came back several hours later, stopped by again and said, hey, do you have any patties yet? And they still didn't have any. So I was like, you know what, don't worry about it. I'll go home and I make them. And that's exactly what I did. And today I want to show you just what I did. Over medium heat, add about 2 tablespoons of neutral oil and go in with your spices and cook for 1.5 to 2 minutes. Add your potatoes, carrots, and onions. I'm using fresh carrots, but if you decide to use frozen, add those in a bit later. Mix to combine with spices and cover and let cook for about 8 minutes on a medium-low heat. Uncover after 8 minutes, and if you have them stuck on food, don't worry, we're going to deglaze with coconut milk later and that will all come up. Add in your garlic, ginger, and Scotch bonnet pepper and cook for an additional minute. Go in with the shredded cabbage and cook until wilted. I'm going to cover this for about 3 to 5 minutes just to allow the steam to help wilt it a little faster. Add in your coconut milk, and as you do, use your spoon to remove the stuck-on bits from the bottom of the pan. Cook for another 3 to 4 minutes. We want the mixture to thicken slightly, and we want some of the moisture to evaporate so we don't have such a wet filling. Turn off the heat and add the thyme and frozen veg. I'm going to cover this and let it sit while I work on the pastry. In my bowl I have flour, salt, turmeric powder, and Jamaican curry powder. And to this I'm adding 1.5 cups of vegetable shortening, which was cubed and frozen. I'll be cutting this in using my pastry cutter until I have a medium coarse mill. You can also use a fork if you don't have a pastry cutter. Now it's time to add our ice cold water. Be sure to add the water 1 tablespoon at a time and mix with the fork each time you add the water. Continue to add water until you can press the dough with your hands and it stays together. The amount of water will vary each time, but for this I used 18 tablespoons of water. Pour out the dough onto a floured surface and form it into a round disc. Be sure to smooth out the edges as much as possible, but don't knead or handle too much. We don't want to form strong gluten strands. Wrap in saran wrap and let the dough rest in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, remove the dough and place on a well-floured surface and roll out the dough, rotating between each roll to maintain the shape, but also to keep the pastry from sticking to the surface. If it does begin to stick, just add a little flour and continue rolling and rotating. Roll out the dough to about 1/8 inch thick. We don't want it too thin because we do have to stuff this and we don't want any of the filling to rip our pastry and therefore allow the filling to leak out or dry the inside of the pastry out. Once you've reached your desired thickness, cut out your dough. I'm using a bowl that measures 5.5 inches in diameter. Anything between 5 and 6 inches is perfect. Lay your cut pieces of dough on a cookie sheet. I like to keep my dough in the freezer as I'm gathering the dough and re-rolling and cutting just to make sure that I'm keeping my pastry nice and cold. Once all of your dough is cut, place them back into the freezer while you clean up and prepare to fill the pastries. Now that my station is clean, I'll spoon about 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of filling onto one side of my pastry, dab it with water around the edges, and bring up the other side and seal. Repeat until finished. You'll probably end up having some filling left over, but that's okay. Just freeze it and use it for another time. After the initial seal, go back and crimp with the tines of a fork. I like to dip my fork in flour to keep it from sticking to the pastry and ripping it. Once all of your pastries have been sealed and crimped, place it back into the freezer while you preheat the oven to 375 degrees. Place your patties in the oven for 30 to 40 minutes. Be sure to check the bottom to know when they're done. They will be a golden brown. I don't bother to use a wash because they're already golden in color, and the bottom will tell you when they're done. Get this patty down, let you see what it looks like. Look at the bottom, this is what I'm talking about. So this nice golden brown crust on the bottom is what you want to look out for to let you know that your patty is done. It's good and flaky, and that's exactly what we want. I've tried these patties out on my coworkers and my neighbors, and they've all agreed that this is the best crust that they've ever had, which makes me very proud. You guys, this is some bomb crust. And the crust is probably my favorite part of a patty. So if this isn't done right, then you can just hang it up. I only cooked 8 of the patties. I froze the other 4. I'm slowly, every time I make some, freezing some of them and creating a stockpile in my freezer, and they freeze really, really well. So what you want to do is just put them on your cookie sheet, put the whole cookie sheet in the freezer, let them freeze completely, and then you'll want to wrap them in parchment paper and then again in saran wrap and put those in a freezer bag, and they'll keep for about 2 months. As always, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know how you like this in the comments below, and happy eating. If you're interested in how I make my beef patties, let me know in the comments below, and I'll bring that video right to you.